Congresswoman calls Steve Bannon a white supremacist who should legally be removed. She actually also indirectly incited violence as well. Barbara Lee sees Nazis and white supremacists everywhere that progressives aren't, with her latest target being Steve Bannon. Congresswoman calls Steve Bannon a white supremacist who should legally be removed. She actually also indirectly incited violence as well. Barbara Lee sees Nazis and white supremacists everywhere that progressives aren't, with her latest target being Steve Bannon. Democratic Representative Barbara Lee went on Reverend Al Sharpton's MSNBC show to continue to level charges that Steve Bannon, President Trump's closest advisor, is a white supremacist. Well, what a surprise. Progressives calling other people racist and Nazis and white supremacists and bigots. What a surprise! She called him a white supremacist who should be removed from office. Barbara Lee claims that the Congressional Black Caucus, a collection of black supremacists, see how that works, Barbara, is working on figuring out how to legally remove Steve Bannon from the Trump cabinet. And if that doesn't work, she's going to use the heat on the street. We dissect her slanderous rant and Reverend Al's encouragement in the video to follow.
Reverend Al, may I pick up on one appointment in the administration, Steve Bannon? I just wanted to say how dangerous it is to have, as Nancy Pelosi described him, as a white supremacist sitting on the National Security Council.
So, Barbara Lee is going to accuse Steve Bannon of being a white supremacist. That's what they're doing here, folks. They're going to accuse Steve Bannon of being a white supremacist. Folks, this isn't about Steve Bannon being a quote-unquote white supremacist. First of all, he's not. There's nothing white supremacist about this guy. This is about the fact that the progressives know full well that Steve Bannon is a brilliant strategist who means to do nothing short of absolutely destroying the progressives from within and from without. And that is why they are coming at him with such aggression.
Voting rights, human rights.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, about Steve Bannon, because twice in Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader of the House, twice in her statement, she referred to Bannon as a white supremacist. Twice. And I thought that that was very, very, very telling of the attitude of many of his records.
Oh, we've got the Reverend Al. The Reverend Al who can't pronounce the word supremacist. Al, it's supremacist. Please pronounce a word right for the love of everything that's decent. Please try to pronounce the word supremacist as supremacist and not supremacist. Supremacist. You're going to cite Nancy Pelosi as evidence that we should somehow take the charge that Steve Bannon is a white supremacist seriously. Nancy Pelosi, this is the woman who said you have to read the bill after it's passed to find out what's in it. That's the Nancy Pelosi that we're talking about. This is why you lost the election. And I love it that you're going to pursue this line of attack. If you want to call Steve Bannon a white supremacist or supremacist, which I don't know what that means, but if you want to, I'll be very interested to see where that goes. It'll go nowhere. But I'm very happy to see you continue to push this narrative. You guys are helping win votes in 2018, but not for yourselves.
Right now, the public pressure and the street heat, the marches and the protests will help.
Barbara Lee, what do you mean by street heat? Do you mean like in Berkeley, where they appear to have attempted to burn the school down? Is that the kind of street heat that you're talking about? Are you talking about the protests where they're macing Trump supporters in the face? Are you talking about the protest where they're chanting that Donald Trump should be assassinated? Are you talking about those protests? Is that what you're advocating for? Are you a sitting congresswoman that is openly inciting people to violence? Because that's what I think you're doing, and I think that's far more of a legal challenge for you than the fact that Nancy Pelosi has called yet another conservative who opposes her a white supremacist or a Nazi or a right-wing extremist.
What can be done in the Congress to really try and force the president to at least remove him from there if he can't be removed from the White House, other than a bully pulpit?
Right now, we are actually looking at legal ways to approach this in terms of the research we're doing to see if we can find a mechanism to remove him if President Trump does not remove him.
I don't know if this Barbara Lee is aware of the fact that the Democrats do not control the House. They do not control the Senate. They do not control the executive. And soon they will no longer have much power in the judiciary. Be that as it may, one wonders if this is some sort of bluster or threat, that they somehow think that Donald Trump will be like all of the Republican presidents that have come before him, that as soon as the big bad Democrats stand up and threaten some sort of legal action, that Donald Trump and the Republicans will circle the wagons and then point the guns inward at the person that the Democrats are targeting. I don't think that's going to happen in this case, Barbara Lee. I think Steve Bannon is staying just where he is. And I got to say, I don't know what's going on. I'm not privy to exactly what's going on inside that Trump cabinet, but I've got to say, the fact that these Democrats are going after Steve Bannon with such desperation, with such hate, with such slander, really, accusing this man of being a white supremacist, this tells me that Steve Bannon must be seriously kicking butt, that whatever he's doing to help Trump strategize, because these guys are in it to fight a war. Unlike all the other Republicans that have come before them, they are fighting an all-out war against this cancer that is progressivism in America. And he must be doing a great job, because otherwise I don't think the Democrats will be spending this much time going after this man like they are.
And the more we expose this man and who he is as a white supremacist, his background, Breitbart News, many of the terrible, dangerous statements that he's made, and to see those statements now and his views reflected in our foreign policy, dangerous, it's wrong, it's serious, and we have to find every way we can to make sure that he is removed from the NSC and also from the White House. So we're in the process now of trying to determine if we have some legal mechanisms to really remove him if the president won't.
So I guess Barbara Lee went to the Reverend Al School of English, where supremacist becomes supremacist. Supremacist? It's supremacist, Barbara Lee. Supremacist. Please say it. Please just say supremacist. Now, there she goes, repeating the baseless claim that Steve Bannon is a white supremacist based on the horrible statements. What horrible statements? Show me one horrible statement by Steve Bannon that illustrates that he is a white supremacist. You're not going to find it, Barbara Lee, and you know you're not going to find it. Furthermore, show me anything about foreign policy that shows that Steve Bannon is a white supremacist, or anybody else in the Trump administration is a white supremacist. I don't recall any foreign policy decisions that were made based on race, based on a preference of white people. None whatsoever, Barbara Lee. You have legal issues. And honestly, if I were the president, I don't know that I might want to take you to court for. I always confuse, is it libel? Is it slander? What are those? Whichever one it is, That's what you should be sued for. Steve Bannon should sue you. Really, Breitbart. I think that would be the best tactic. Breitbart, because you are bringing down the Breitbart brand with the lies and the slander that you're perpetuating in an official capacity. What you are essentially saying is, if somebody is in your cabinet that is an effective strategist at destroying who we are and exposing the cancer that we are, we have to somehow remove them. And you're going to do this by any means necessary. Isn't that right, Barbara Lee? The inciter to violence. You cited heat on the street. Heat on the street. You're going to set fires on the street? Is that what you're going to do, Barbara Lee? You just had that Berkeley protest, and you're referring to all those types of protests as being good ways to get rid of Steve Bannon. Who are the Nazis, Barbara Lee? Who are the fascists, Barbara Lee?